mondo mi ochaka twak mare ayanga. Twak mare kaka jatend piny Kenya mar abich. Twak mare mokwongo nyaka nokaw kom mar tenda piny Kenya. Anyisi ni twak mokalo manochiw gi jatend piny Kenya machon Uhuru Kenyatta eka bang'e ne oganda jo Kenya odhi e yiero maduong'. Bang'e no Nyakwaro Mgajwang' makoro dhi bedo twak mar jatend piny Kenya William Ruto mokwongo, mabende koro bire seche mabende koro moko kuom singo manomiyo oganda jo Kenya pok ochopo kare. Ka thoth oganda ywago pek mar ngima. Noyudo thuolo mar go mbaka gi oganda wa e counties mopogore opogore kama no oganda golo e pachgi ka thothgi ne ywago pek mar ngima, giywago onge mar tije. Par ni achiel kuom gigo mabende nosingi ne en loso thuolo mag tije ne rawere pacho kae. Singo mabende chal ka gima pok ochako nenore ka gima chopo kare. Nyalo paro ni nowacho ni bora kazi sio bora nyumba. Haya, nowacho kanyo ni ne en chenro manogeto loso godo thuolo mag tije ne rawere to ok chenro mar neno ni oganda bedo kod ute. En weche go mabende Nyakwaro Mgajwang' samoro oganda dibed ni ntiere kod dwaro mondo mi oketgi e ler kotende kod singo ma kamago kabende thoth rawere pod onge kod thuolo mag tije pacho ka kabende thothgi pod ywago mondo jatend piny Kenya William Ruto ochop singo manomiyo oganda jo Kenya e kinde manomanyo ombulu e pacho kae. Spika mar od bura Moses Wetangula kaachiel gi spika mano mar Senate Amason Kingi duto no oro oboke mar rwako jo od bura kaachiel gi senators e od bura odiochieng' ma kawuono tarik 9 dwe ni mar 11 higa 2023 mar yore od bura mondo mi giwinj twak jatend piny Kenya William Ruto twak mare mokwongo kabende en dweche 14 nyaka ne jatend piny Kenya William Ruto bed jatend piny Kenya mar abich. Kabende odiochieng' ma kawuono en twak mokelo kanyakla jo od bura duto kaachiel gi senators. En twak mabende koro dhiriwo jotelo gi kanyakla. En twak mabende kor geno ni ntiere weche midhi muli. Wacho kanyo kotende kod weche go mag arita. Nyakwaro Mgajwang' waseno ka Omar Okak osebedo ka ntiere kod weche go mag ng'ikruok e yore mag arita. Jomonjo osebedo ka monjo kata jonjore osebedo ka monjo gwenge go kabende gikwalo jamni kendo ginego oganda modak e Omar Okak gwenge mag Baringo, Samburu kocha. Kabende achiel kuom monj go notim ka jatenda migawo mar arita Kithure Kindiki nongo tach ka ntiere e romo kono. To kata kamano en gino ma pod nodhi adhia mbele. Weche mag arita na achiel kuom gigo mabende kore geto ne jatend piny Kenya William Ruto dhi twak e wi gesechegi. Inyalo paro ni ntiere jo od bura moko adek mabende yae gwenge go mag Omar Okak mano dadhogi gi apisa okwach kich mapacho kata DCI mondo mi giler malong'o kotendre kod mogo maging'eyo kotendre gi monja bende dhi mbele e gwengego mag Omar Okak kaachiel gi Baringo. Monja bende osekelo ng'ikruok e wechego mag somo nyate kinde mane nyithindo timo penj mar KCPE kaito gi penj mar KPSEA mabende duto norumo juma mokalo. Sani Nyakwaro Mgajwang' nyithindo ma jo klas 12 kata jopuonjrego bende dhi mbele gi penj mar KCSE. Kata kamano luoro pod nitiere thoth gwengego ma Omar Okak kotendre kod wechego mag arita. Kinyalo paro nitiere monj manotim but skul mane time KCSE gwengo ma Baringo kan mano kilo luoro ma jopuonjre no wuok e skul no mabende no kelo rochruok e wechego mag somo. Nyakwaro Mgajwang' gi wechego mag penj mane timore kane osebedo ni oketa rita makare kendo orida rita e gwengo mag Baringo e yo makare ma geno ne onge ni monj ma kamano nyalo timore. Kata kamano mane pod otimore. Penjo maduong' en ni yorego mag arita nyaka sechegi osechopo kanye. Mago gin moko kuom gigo bende koro igeno ne jatend piny Kenya William Ruto dhi wuoyo e wigi. Parni matimore kinde mabende koro ntiere twak mabende koro sepuodho tero obila maya e pacho kae piny mar Haiti mondo mi gidhi gi los wechego mag arita. Kata kamano penjo mathoth oganda penjore en ni golo obila e thur kae tere piny mar Haiti ka piny Kenya to pod nitiere kod ng'ikruok e wechego mag arita. En penjo mabende koro en penjo matek. Kata kamano oganda jo Kenya nitiere kod geno ni mae gin gigo mabende koro inyalo dhi twage gi jatenda piny Kenya William Ruto. Nengo mar ngima nyakwar mga juang nosingi ni biro dok piny ndalo mag kura, ndalo mane manyo mbule pacho kae. Jatend piny nosingo duoko piny nengo mag ngima, nengo mag chiemo kaachiel gi nengo mag mauta. Kata kamano ma ok osetimore ka nengo mag gik moko osebedo mana kadhi malo nyaka nokaw telo kaka jatend piny Kenya mar 5. Kata kamano osebedo koko oganda mondo omiye mana thuolo tem loso mago monyalo loso kotenre kod ngima nengo mar ngima e pacho ka gi weche mag ochumi. Atira achiel kachiel nyakwar mga juang nyake od bura malo kama koro ne okanyo ka chenro ni ochakore ayanga jatend piny Kenya William Ruto donje od bura. Tere nyake od bura.
And the Senate. I will now hand you over for this live broadcast of this special sitting of Parliament. The bicameral House is sitting this afternoon for the State of the Nation address. My name is Edward Kabasa.
Hiyo imekuwa ni bendi na Rais William Ruto.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, the Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, honorable members, let us pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with abundant favor and blessings us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity and welfare of our country and of those whose interests we've committed to our charge. Amen. You may be seated. Order, honorable members. Your Excellency, the Honorable Dr. William Samoei Ruto, CGH, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, the Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Moses Wetangula, AGH, MP, Honorable Members of Parliament. Article 132(1) of the Constitution of Kenya requires the President to address the special sitting of Parliament of Kenya once every year and at any other time. Further, Article 132(1)(c) requires the President to, among others, once every year, report in an address to the nation all the measures taken and the progress achieved in the realization of the national values set out in Article 10 of the Constitution. In addition, Article 240, subsection 7 of the Constitution requires the President, in his capacity as the chairperson of the National Security Council, to report to Parliament annually on the state of the security of the Republic. In this regard, therefore, pursuant to Article 132, 1b and C1 and 2 of the Constitution, the Presidency, via the letter reference number OP/CAB.26/4A, Volume 2/52, informed the Speakers of the Houses of Parliament of the intention of His Excellency the President to deliver his address to Parliament. Consequently, pursuant to Standing Order number 25(1) and 2 of the Senate, I gave notice of today's special sitting to the Honorable Senators by Gazette Notice number 14716, which was published in the Kenya Gazette on Friday, 3rd November 2023. Accordingly, honorable members, this special sitting is properly convened. I thank you.
Your Excellency, Honorable Dr. William Samoei Ruto, CGH, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, the Right Honorable Amason Kingi, EGH MP, Honorable Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Members of Parliament, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Article 1321B of the Constitution of Kenya requires the President to address the nation once every year and at any other time. Further, Article 1321C requires the President to once every year report in an address to the nation on measures taken and progress achieved in the realization of our national values. Additionally, Article 1321C Roman 3 of the Constitution provides that the President shall submit a report for debate to the National Assembly on the progress made in fulfilling the international obligations of the Republic. In this regard, honorable members, by way of a message to the House dated 26 September 2023, His Excellency the President conveyed his desire to address a joint sitting of the Houses of Parliament today, 9th November 2023. Therefore, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 22 of the National Assembly Standing Orders, and by Gazette Notice number 14715, which was published in the Kenya Gazette on 3rd November 2023, I gave notice of this special sitting of Parliament to the members of the National Assembly. Accordingly, honorable members, this special sitting is properly convened. Your Excellency, in the custom of Parliament, we recognize invited guests seated in our galleries. I therefore wish to recognize the following guests who are seated in the Speaker's row. Her Excellency Rachel Ruto, EGH, First Lady of the Republic of Kenya, and other members of the First Family. His Excellency Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya and the spouse of the Deputy President, Her Excellency Pastor Dorcas Rigathi. The Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, EGH, the Prime Cabinet Secretary. and Minister of Foreign Affairs. Your Excellency, honorable members, also present in the Speaker's row this afternoon are the Honorable Lady Justice Martha Koome, EGH Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, Her Lady Justice Philomena Mbete Mwilu, MGH, Deputy Chief Justice and Vice President of the Supreme Court. They are accompanied by Honorable Justice Eric Ogola, Principal Judge, the High Court, Honorable Justice Oscar Angote, Presiding Judge in Environmental and Land Court, and Honorable Justice Brian Ongaya, MBS, Principal Judge, Employment and Labor Relations Court. We are similarly pleased to host the former Vice President of the Republic, the Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, EGH, who is also the co-chair of the National Dialogue Committee. We are also honored to have in our midst the immediate former speakers of the Houses of Parliament, the Honorable Justin B.N. Muturi, EGH, who is the current Attorney General of the Republic, and the Honorable Kenneth Lusaka, EGH, the Governor of Bungoma County. Your Excellency, allow me to also recognize the Chairperson of the Council of Governors, who is also the Governor of Kirinyaga County, the Honorable Anne Waiguru, EGH, and the Honorable Johnson Sakaja, Governor of Nairobi City County. May I also accord special recognition to all Cabinet Secretaries present, Mr. Felix Kosgei, Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, Principal Secretaries, members of the Diplomatic Corps, and heads of constitutional commissions and independent offices present in Parliament today. Your Excellency, I wish to make a special mention of the Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, General Francis Ogola, and the respective service commanders, the Inspector General of Police, and other leaders of our disciplined forces who are seated at the Speaker's row. We are grateful for their distinguished service to the nation. To all invited guests, karibuni sana kwa bunge. Honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my singular honor and privilege to invite His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces to address this special sitting of Parliament. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, honorable members. I arise before this distinguished assembly of the democratically elected representatives of the people of Kenya to discharge my constitutional function under Article 132, 1C. The occasion requires me to give an account to the people of Kenya, the measures taken by their government under my leadership, and to give full expression and effect to the soul of our constitutional dispensation by implementing the national values and principles of governance set out in Article 10 of our Constitution. I have a substantial report to give on the progress made in fulfilling this solemn covenant, and that the journey of transforming Kenya for the benefit of present and future generations is fully underway. Its positive effect have also begun to bear fruit across many sectors of our national endeavor, from the grassroots all the way to this capital of Nairobi. On the 13th September 2022, last year, when I took office, I undertook to ensure the urgent transformation of our economy and to stop and reverse the negative trends of runaway unemployment, yawning inequality, and widespread poverty, which have denied Kenyans their dignity and extinguished their dreams. The mass appeal of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda was due in large part to the fact that its development and articulation, as well as its content and implementation strategy, represented our national values in action. It was inclusive, democratic, committed to social justice and the protection of the marginalized. Our commitment to bring the national values and principles of governance to life in order to significantly enhance the well-being of every individual and promote the unity, stability, security, and development of our country began long before the last election and will endure well beyond our term. It has been my manifest intention to live up to all the commitments set out in the plan, and despite enormous challenges and tremendous difficulties, we have made encouraging progress in a positive direction. This has not only vindicated our philosophy of inclusive transformation in pursuit of shared prosperity, but it has also increased our confidence that we are on the right path and shall, in due course, deliver the transformation of our nation in full. It is important for us to point out that we began the implementation of our mandate to transform Kenya's economy from the bottom up under extreme difficult circumstances, not to excuse failure or to justify inability or omission to do the necessary work. Not at all. Rather, we do it to emphasize the significance of our progress, underscore the possibility of transformation under daunting conditions, and express well-founded confidence that when sufficient progress is made, we shall do much more and go much further in delivering the Kenya we want for our generations and also for posterity. In our plan, we identified 3 primary challenges: external shocks, fiscal distress, and structural imbalance that heavily strained our economy, causing nationwide difficulty. The COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with global supply chain disruptions and geopolitical conflicts, significantly raised inflation and interest rates, adversely affecting our economy, while low agricultural investment and a prolonged drought led to food shortages and made Kenya a net importer of food in a volatile international market. It was under conditions of such extreme difficulty that the people of Kenya entrusted us with the responsibility of simultaneously generating effective solutions to immediate problems, providing a credible pathway to stability in the medium term, and undertaking long-term structural transformation of our economy, but in a manner which paid attention to the needs and aspirations of Kenyans, especially those at the bottom of the pyramid. The transformation of our economy is not only desirable and important, it is also necessary and urgent. And the people of Kenya have made this clear at every opportunity. Our duty as leaders is to listen keenly and comply with the people's wishes. Kenyans want to proceed in a new direction and demand a new conversation that puts ordinary Kenyans, the mama mboga's security, well-being, interests, and aspirations at the front and center of all policy and governance discourse. Citizen freedoms and fundamental rights lie at the heart of enterprise and democracy. Accordingly, our governance system must be fit for purpose, able to protect people and their belongings, safeguard freedom, facilitate democracy, and promote market efficiency. To do this, law enforcement must be robust, judicial integrity, efficiency and independence, absolute, and the right to the protection of law non-negotiable and impartial. Our police service and other actors in the justice, law, and order chain including the judiciary, must therefore be professional, independent, impartial, effective, and inspired by national values and principles of governance. In keeping with our promise to the people of Kenya, I signed important instruments on my first day on duty. Among them, the delayed appointments of 6 judges to the Court of Appeal as recommended by the Judicial Service Commission. Enhanced allocation through this House to the judiciary by 3 billion Kenya shillings. Designated the Inspector General, who is sitting in this House as the accounting officer of the National Police Service, to enhance police independence, and subsequently appointed a task force led by the former Chief Justice David Maraga to review the terms and conditions of service of members of the National Police Service. This was necessary, members, so that we can cement our place as a nation on the firm foundation of the rule of law. Together with the people of Kenya, we have changed everything. We have transformed the national political conversation from personalities to issues, from regional or ethnic lages to opportunities for all our young people, from divisions to inclusion, and from status quo to the bottom-up economic transformation for shared prosperity. To date, Kenyans remain fully seized of the agenda, engaging vigorously and with unrelenting focus on expanding agricultural productivity to deal with the cost of living, affordable housing to create enterprise, jobs, and dignified dwellings, universal health coverage for a healthy, productive nation, and digital transformation to create e-commerce, create jobs, and make government efficient, effective, and accessible, especially government services. Also, fintechs, including the Hustler Fund, have benefited from the space around technology and the digital transformation. By virtue of the internal coherence of our constitutional dispensation, national values and principles of governance set out core directive precepts whose observance imbues every decision and action with implicit constitutionality. To the extent that our plan is aligned with Article 43, the implementation of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda is a program to intensify the actualization of national values with a special focus on citizens at the bottom of the pyramid. From the first day in office, we have worked hard every day to move our agenda forward amid many challenges to forge a path in the direction of progress. This is the essence of our commitment, to make progress despite challenges and move forward by overcoming great obstacles. We must never be defined by our problems, and Kenya's destiny cannot be derailed by our challenges. Honorable members, the cost of living is not an abstract phenomenon. It is a reality experienced by households, which can be addressed through practical action and effective measures. One of the most salient interventions in addressing the high cost of living is the strategy to support agricultural production throughout the sector, ranging from food and cash crops as well as livestock value chains. I am committed to put the shame of hunger behind us once and for all. We rolled out a countrywide farmer registration and fertilizer subsidy program that has made available 5.5 million bags to farmers across Kenya. We have progressively reduced the cost of fertilizer from 6,500 to 2,500, increased maize acreage under production by an extra 200,000 acres this year and enhanced maize production by an additional 18 million bags this year. As a result of these interventions, today, a 2-kilogram packet of maize flour is selling at a low of 145 and a high of 175, depending on the brand you buy, down from 250 shillings a few months ago. The famous gorogoro of maize is selling at between 60 and 75. Honorable members, you know how much it costed a few months ago. We have also established 22 new fish landing sites in 9 counties in Nyanza and the Coast region. We have funded and organized beach management units into cooperatives, set up 2 hatcheries in Kabonyo in Kisumu County and in Shimoni in Kwale County. And we are in the process of completing Liwatoni fish processing plant in Mombasa by end of next month and Shimoni fish port by the end of next year. Again, to bring our blue economy resources into the realm of food production. To achieve efficiency, transparency, and accuracy in fertilizer distribution, we enrolled farmers on a digital register with accurate details of the location and acreage of their agricultural land holdings. This database enabled us to implement an e-voucher system through which farmers received their fertilizer consignments for planting and top dressing of maize, tea, coffee, rice, potatoes, cotton, edible oils, sugarcane across the country. Our farmers are the best people to speak about the success of the fertilizer program. Yesterday, I spoke to several farmers in different parts of the country. Ms. Alice Nato, a single mother in a place called Milo in Bungoma, told me that the 2,500 fertilizer had doubled the yield in her farm from 52 bags of maize last year to 120 bags of maize this year. Another farmer, Mr. Albert Munyi from Embu, appreciated the impact of fertilizer subsidy had in his farm and asked me to work out a way that the fertilizer can be delivered closer to the farmers rather than at the National Cereals and Produce Board depot. I assured him that I will work with the governor of Embu and with all governors to actualize his proposal for him and for other farmers who believe the same. But it was Mr. Samuel Chacha of Kuria who graphically painted the picture of transformation the fertilizer subsidy has done in his farm. With a phrase that struck my mind, he simply told me, Mr. President, shamba yangu ina meta. Further, we have made adequate arrangements, including investment in necessary infrastructure to facilitate post-harvest management and to prevent post-harvest losses. 17 certified warehouses jointly managed by the National Cereals and Produce Board and the private sector owners with a combined capacity of 365 metric tons or 4,090,000 kilogram bags have been prepared in the maize growing areas. The National Cereals and Produce Board shall provide a subsidy maize drying service to farmers at a fixed cost, as was announced by the Minister, of Kenya shillings 70 per bag, which is a significant improvement from the previous rate of Kenya shillings 350 per bag. Yesterday again, the first consignment of the 100 mobile dryers this House facilitated my administration to buy for use by our farmers. I announced to you yesterday the first consignment of the dryers docked in the country. Additionally, we are enhancing dairy productivity for better farmer returns. The government, working with milk processors, and I had a long conversation with them in Nakuru, we are mapping the country to ensure coolers are supplied where they are needed. Soon, farmers will be paid based on milk quality, boosting incomes, and they can also enjoy global market access. Our reforms in the coffee sector are bearing fruit, with our farmers set to earn 4 times advance pay for their crop, from a low of 20 to now Kenya shillings 80, following the allocation of Kenya shillings 4 billion from the Coffee Cherry Fund that was ably facilitated by this House. Coffee reforms regulations will give farmers the necessary representation and weight at the national coffee auction. It is my intention to make sure that the auction operates with farmers at the center of it. These measures are expected to aid ongoing efforts, including expanding production to new counties and double coffee output in the next 4 years. The government of Kenya is currently restructuring public sugar mills, expediting the leasing of 5 companies for rehabilitation and expansion to boost industry competitiveness before the commercial sugar safeguards expire. The objective includes creating a competitive sector, raising farmer incomes, and enhancing productivity. This House agreed with my cabinet that we waive Kenya shillings 117 billion non-performing debt for government-owned sugar factories, for which I am grateful to this House. This House also approved 1.7 billion shillings that will go into paying farmer arrears and other complications that arose out of the challenges our sugar sector was facing. I want to promise this House that in the next couple of weeks, we shall be dispersing that money so that farmers in the sugar growing area can go home for Christmas with their money. As earlier indicated, our public borrowing had long crowded out the productive sector from the financial markets, raising the cost of credit and slowing down trade and commerce. As I told Kenyans on my first day in office, times were difficult and many people are struggling, and necessary and effective sustainable solutions were urgently needed. We must admit, honorable members, that as a country, we had been living large and way beyond our means. The time has come, therefore, to retire the false comforts and illusionary benefits of wasteful expenditure and counterproductive subsidies on consumption, by which we dug ourselves deeper into the hole of avoidable debt. The new direction may not be easy, but it is ethical, responsible, prudent, and most importantly, necessary. We've had to take hard decisions and make painful choices because we owe it to the people of Kenya to do the right thing and to confront facts as they are without flinching or equivocating. We have worked hard at home and abroad to mobilize a broad coalition of bilateral development partners. Many of them, I see them in this House, multilateral development banks and other agencies, which have rallied to pull our country back from the brink of debt distress and set us today firmly on the path towards sustainable economic growth. Our efforts to stabilize the situation have yielded such progress that next month, in December, we will be able to settle the first Kenya shillings $300 million or 500 billion Kenya shillings installment of the US dollars 2 billion Eurobond debt that falls due next year. I can now confirm with confidence that we will and we shall pay the debt that has become a source of much concern to citizens, markets, and our partners. Having said this, I further announce to the nation that our intention, consistent with sustained effort here and abroad, have enabled us to normalize our relations with the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the Africa Development Bank, and various development partners to such an extent that they are now working with us to implement the bottom-up economic transformation plan. As I earlier indicated, our public borrowing had long crowded our productive sector from the financial markets, raising the cost of credit and slowing down trade and commerce, especially the micro, small, and medium enterprises, including Mama Mboga. Consequently, many enterprises and entrepreneurs were referred for blacklisting by the credit reference bureaus, where 7 million borrowers were listed by last year. We committed to provide affordable and accessible credit and restore small business owners to good standing with credit rating agencies. A deliberate, targeted strategic financial inclusion fund, the Hustler Fund, providing affordable credit and mobilizing savings for individuals and small businesses, was launched on the 30th of November 2022. The public response to the Hustler Fund has exceeded most initial projections and surprised even the most hardened skeptics. By the end of last month, the fund had disbursed Kenya shillings 36.6 billion and in savings 2.3 billion, and with 7.5 million repeat borrowers, whose overall repayment rate is at 73%. The top borrower of the fund has so far accessed Kenya shillings 4.5 million in 816 transactions, while the top voluntary saver is at 631,491. In the intervening period, the Hustler Fund has also launched a group product which has attracted 50,000 active groups to the platform, and of which 20,000 have received 151 million Kenya shillings. The Hustler Fund has provided us not only the huge pent-up demand for affordable credit, but also the readiness of Kenyans to express or to embrace credit and savings and to pay their loans on time with minimum prompting. The notion that Kenyans are not creditworthy or are high-risk borrowers is nothing more than an unjust financial profiling, which has, in many instances, become a needless, self-fulfilling prophecy. Yesterday, when I called Harrison Karisa Kenga, a tuk-tuk operator in Mombasa, who has accessed 714,000 from the Hustler Fund, he suggested to me to find a way to have the fund provide asset financing so that he can buy for himself a tuk-tuk because the one he had was not his. I assured him that during my address today, I would ask the ministry responsible to respond to him. Consequently, I hereby direct the Ministry of Cooperatives and MSMEs to expeditiously engage Mr. Kenga. I will give you his telephone number. The impact of the Hustler Fund is summarized by a story of a Mr. Sospita Ondiek from Kisii. I suggest that the Kenyan film industry should look for him so that he can tell you his full story. Mr. Ondiek has a plumbing and tiling business in Kisii. And through the Hustler Fund, he has accessed 1.7 million in the many transactions he has undertaken to enhance our savings that have consistently been among the lowest globally, and to correct the delayed transformation of our social security architecture. Fundamental reforms are underway in our savings and social security space. As promised, we committed to take deliberate measures to foster a strong culture of savings amongst Kenyans and enable them mobilize resources for investment and development of intergenerational capital to eliminate old age poverty and to ensure comfort in retirement. Until recently, the rate of Kenya's public pension saving stood at 1.4 billion shillings a month, which is the lowest in our region at only 12.5% of our GDP. As a result of our initial interventions, the savings situation in Kenya is changing for the better. Contributions, honorable members, to the National Security Fund have grown from 1.4 billion shillings in January to 6.5 billion shillings every month, this month. The implication of this growth in our national savings is that it will significantly consolidate our nation's ability to invest in development using domestic resources as opposed to us going to borrow other people's money when they save. Honorable members, majority of Kenyans live in their own rural homes, even though many experience land and settlement challenges, including landlessness, insecure land tenure, and perennial squatter problems. Acute housing challenges are principally an urban phenomenon, and they present a serious threat to health and safety, as well as dignity of people, particularly low-income earners. The proliferation of slums in our urban areas indicate the extent of this serious problem and the urgency with which it must be addressed to enable Kenyans have greater choice in leading dignified, safe, and healthy lives affordably. Low supply of affordable housing units in Kenya is acute, making rent a huge component of the cost of living for many households. The increase in affordable housing units is a strategic intervention to not only supply affordable dwellings for Kenyans, but also as a means to reduce the cost of living. 3 categories of houses will be supplied by this program: social housing, affordable housing, and for the rest, market rate housing. Interest on financing is where we intend to make the big difference. Interest at the moment, as all of us know in this house, is at almost 18%. But under this program, all interest should be or will be at single digit. For social housing, the interest will be at 3%. You know, honorable members, that we all get 3%. So even the people in the social space, they also deserve to get 3%. Those in the affordable housing space will get 6%, and 9% for the people in the market category. The affordable housing program has received tremendous support from county governments across Kenya. And I want to thank governors, and I know the chair of the Council of Governors is here, through her, all governors who have worked with us to make sure that this program becomes a reality. The construction of 46,792 units in various parts of Kenya is already underway. while another 40,000 are ready to commence in a couple of weeks. 50,000 Kenyans are working. People who were previously unemployed, they are now engaged directly and indirectly in this enterprise. And the numbers will significantly increase as the projects move into the next phase and as we roll out many more units. A total of 746,795 housing units are in the pipeline as I talk to you under various stages of delivery. More jobs are being created with the formalization of the Jua Kali clusters, providing products like doors, hinges, and windows. And this morning, as I visited one of the sites that I went to launch the construction in March, I was amazed that a site that was flat in March today, and I was with the Member of Parliament for Ruto, today has 11 block units, almost at 60% complete. And I also met the Jua Kali cluster for Ruto, and they have been given a contract of 140 million to be able to supply doors and windows. Architects, engineers, quantity surveyors, masons, electricians, plumbers, transporters, steel and cement factory workers, and hardware merchants will be partakers in this transformative plan. I spoke to Moses today at the site in Ruto, an electrician, and he told me out of the 1,700 workers in the site today, he was in charge of 114 electricians who are engaged in that site. And he asked me, Mr. President, make sure the next site is ready for us because we will finish this ahead of time. Let me also say, we are constructing 400 markets across Kenya to provide Mama Mboga with a dignified working environment, complete with water, electricity, and other amenities. And I want to thank members of this House for participating in various ways and working with us and also with the counties in identifying the right locations for these markets. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, our education system must develop a formidable reservoir of skill, talent, highly competitive and innovative human capital to support our vision of an economically transformed Kenya. Within weeks of taking office, I appointed the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform, led by Professor Rafael Munava, my former teacher, who provided clarity on transition to the new competence-based curriculum and made further recommendations on necessary reforms in our education system from early childhood all the way to the tertiary levels. The Working Party concluded its work and submitted a report whose recommendations are already being implemented. The urgent and vexing question of transition to junior school has been settled, and the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment will be used for the exclusive purpose of monitoring learners' progress and not for placement in any grade. In keeping with our commitment, 56,000